Thank you so much, Nicole, for your time today. And I would like to acknowledge the territory of Lekwungen and West Sandwich people that we are located here on the territory. And to start, I would like to ask you to introduce yourself to our audience and tell us what's your position at Royal Roads University, please.
Well, I am Nicole Poynton, and I'm an International Liaison Coordinator at Railroads University, which is on the traditional lands of the Lekwungen and the Kisepsum peoples. And at Railroads University, I work in the Office of International Collaboration and Development. So we work with our partners across the country, around the world, whether they are representing students in their desire to come to Canada and study, or we also work with other institutions on the partnership side of creating opportunities to forge connections between institutions.
Wonderful. And you know that, Nicole, in the past few weeks, there has been a lot of changes in the immigration in terms of the policies and protocols for the institutions that they have been approved for return to the normal way of presenting classes as face-to-face. What is the Royal Roads situation in this new realm?
So Royal Roads, we were on the October 20th list of approved institutions with an approved health and safety plan. So we are one of the designated learning institutions with an approved health and safety plan. So students, as per that new legislation that has come through, students are able to return as of October 20th to any of the institutions that have that approved DLI health and safety plan status. So we are preparing for the return of students, students who were studying previously, who may resume classes on campus, and students who may be beginning their studies. But at the same time, we understand that there needs to be a lot of flexibility. So we are also offering a hybrid model where students can continue or begin to study online. And they can do that in a paced manner and come when they can. And then the other aspect of it is that all the programs are going to look a little bit different in terms of being an on-campus offering. So students will be in class or will have some touch points with the campus if they do decide to come back. Again, if they decide that they'd like to continue studying remotely for the first part of their studies, that is fine. And then when they come back, they will see that things have been configured a little bit different in terms of the classrooms. We have plexiglass up, it will be smaller class sizes. So there are going to be some differences for the first little while until we ease back into and out of the pandemic. So the key thing I think for students to monitor is, you know, if part of their rationale for coming to study in Canada and at Railroads is to eventually work and to get a postgraduate work permit, is to stay abreast of what the regulations are around that situation. So I know, Naji, you are very knowledgeable in this area, and you support your prospective student and your future students in knowing how to navigate that. We also have services for students here in helping them navigate that. So we have RISIA advisors on staff in our student services department. When students come, they can navigate that. But again, if they decide to continue to start studying remotely, they can now be helped with navigating that remotely as well, for an eventual coming to campus and studying at least 50% of their studies on campus.
Okay, that's wonderful. So with Royal Roads being on the list of approved educational institutions that are actually okay if students, they want to travel to Canada and continue their education here, there should be no problem with the CBSA and the Canadian Border Service Agency if they show that evidence that Royal Roads is approved and they have been accepted and they have a valid study permit, then they can enter Canada. What they need to do at the border, they need to present 14 days of quarantine plan, that where they are going to stay, how they are going to prepare food, or who is going to prepare food for them, or what's their plan to stay at home and keep themselves in the quarantine. That's what they need to do at the border in order to be permitted by the Border Service Agency to enter Canada.
We have very Very well outlined plans. They're on our website. So if you go to our website, you can't miss the red COVID-19 link that is there, royalroads.ca, and then just look for the COVID-19 information page. From there is information for different groups of people. One of those is students who are returning. And within that are all of those logistics. But students, as they are coming into their programs, as they register in their programs, they will also receive that support and that guidance from our Student Services Department. Everyone is very informed about what they need to do in terms of the quarantine, and also sharing their quarantine plans as a matter of coming. So I think it's very well outlined on our website if any students wanted to take a look. But I believe that if any students are in the process of registering and starting to get ready to come, they will have already been connected with our Student Services Department, which will be helping them in that, and can help them find an appropriate, or give advice on appropriate types of accommodation. I was in the meeting, and one of the things that was recommended that was that perhaps an Airbnb or something with some outside space might be a good place for students to quarantine, because they can get out and get some fresh air, but they do need to stay in the residence that they are going to be in. So they had some suggestions, and those are the kinds of suggestions that our team would be sharing with students, just to make that quarantine period more manageable and as enjoyable as possible.
Thank you so very much. We had a few requests actually for the term that starts in January. Do you still think that there is a chance that students can get acceptance from the university in this short period of time? I know that today is November the 10th, so it's not that much flexibility in terms of the time that we have to start of the term. But what are your thoughts on this?
It's quite tight. Students who applied in the summer, for example, may be getting their conditional letter of acceptance or their letters of acceptance around now. And even for those students, it may be a little bit tight. So I would say that if your application was not submitted quite early, then it may be a little bit tight for January. But at Royal Roads, many of our programs, we don't just have a January or a September intake. We have several intakes per year. So for our Master of Global Management program, for example, we have a May intake. For our Master of Arts in Tourism Management, we now have an April intake. So we do have upcoming intakes that students can prepare for and even apply for now. But I do encourage to get applications in early, because there are a whole new set of logistics around the pandemic, and also preparation for coming once an offer is issued. So sooner the better in terms of getting applications in. But I think for January, it's a case-by-case basis. If anyone has their application in and would like to get a feel for where it's at, certainly, they can connect with me, and I can connect with international admissions through UNAGI, and we can look at where they are at the moment. But as I mentioned, the application deadlines for January are now closed on all programs, and I do think it's quite tight to get any new applicants in for January.
Thank you so much, Nicole. And this is what I like about the other things that I love about Royal Roads University, like having wonderful and supportive and helpful employee and staff like yourself and people in the international department. What I love about Royal Roads is that they have several intakes during the year. So if students, they miss one intake, or they can plan for the next one, and there are several opportunities in 1 year as the intakes for the university. Thank you so much for outlining that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think we covered most of the plan for returning to face-to-face and returning to online, and the hybrid model that Royal Roads is going to provide. Do you have any other points that you want to bring it up and discuss?
I think just that in listening to the program areas, work with students, in listening to the student services area, work with students in the international admissions, everyone is being very receptive to connecting with students and coming up with one-on-one strategies for what works for them, really supporting them all the way through. And I've seen that since the very beginning of the pandemic. And I guess another thing to mention, which you probably have covered and spoken with all of your contacts about, but is the state of affairs in Victoria. So I think that kindness that runs through Victoria in general, Royal Roads certainly, our partners who are operating out of Victoria, such as UNAGI, and all across Victoria, all of our fellow institutions. Everyone has been very considerate, and I think that really speaks to how well we're doing. Right now, we do have some cases that are a little bit on the rise of COVID, but overall, we've done very well and had very low case counts. So that's given us a lot of confidence in being able to welcome students back in January, but certainly the school is taking a lot of precautions as well. And our teams are hard at work preparing the classrooms, making them as safe as possible. And I think that it is going to be, for the students that do choose to come back in January, it is going to be a good experience. It'll feel like a safe experience. And Royal Roads, just like Victoria in general, has been very considerate of everyone's situation.
On a very personal level, as a new immigrant from Iran, I truly love the sense of community here. And I work with Cecilia at Royal Roads and Michelle from University of Victoria on the platform of United Way, and we do a lot of work. And I love that sense of community. We are creating a lot of hampers here for students to support them. And that really gives a good feeling that you might be out of your country, but still you're supported and you are part of the community, the local community who cares about you and who supports you when you are in need. And I love that sense of community here. And Royal Roads has been a wonderful community partner in that sense.
That's great to hear. That's wonderful to hear. We have our United Way campaign on right now, and it's always lots of fun. And we, the years that I have been working at Royal Roads, we've always met our United Way campaign goals. Everyone is very enthusiastic about it, and there's a lot of good work being done. But you're absolutely welcome. I mean, you're absolutely right there, Najida, but that it's such a welcoming community. I mean, I'm from Toronto, and so it feels like a hop away compared to Iran, but it's a different feeling of. It's very busy in Toronto and people aren't very friendly compared to Victoria. And so I've moved here twice actually, from Toronto and then Vancouver, Vancouver, Victoria. And I'm always a little bit struck by just how friendly it is here. It is an amazing, friendly environment. And I've chosen to make my home here. And I just love being part of the community. And I think people arrive here and they just join in that very welcoming, community friendly feel. So I definitely love it, and I definitely echo in what you say about how welcoming it is, and working in the international department at Royal Roads, I see that as well on a smaller level with the students that arrive. Everyone definitely, with our learning model, small class sizes, 35 students per class on average, cohort model, everyone feels very known already because of that setup. But there's also sort of a more embracing feeling from the institution at large at Royal Roads. So it's very special.
Yeah, I cannot agree with you more. Thank you so very much, Nicole. And I'm gonna, with your permission, we have an agent in Tehran, Mr. Emami, that I'm going to share this video with him, and he will post this on Instagram. So clients will see and they will be informed about the plans of Royal Roads University, if you don't mind.
Wonderful. I don't mind at all. That's wonderful.
Okay. Thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you. It was nice to see you today.
Thank you. Take care.
Okay. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.